Introduction to the periodic table of elements. Content and concepts. Some properties of metals, semi-metal, and non-metals. Concepts and skills. At the end of this lesson, learners should be able to identify metals, non-metals, and semi-metals. Identify where on the periodic table metals, non-metals and metalloids / semi-metals are located. Explain why metalloids are located between the metals and non-metals. Describe some properties of metals, non-metals, and semi-metals, physical and chemical. Categorize a given element as metal, non-metal, or semi-metals. Observe and label simple elements as metals, non-metals, and semi-metals. Explain the state in what most non-metals are found at room temperature. Explain the uses of metals, non-metals, and semi-metals. Design an investigation to identify whether unknown samples are metals, non-metals, and semi-metals. What are metals, non-metals, and semi-metals / metalloids? First, use prior knowledge to the learners to establish what they know. This will help them to connect with what they will learn. In grade 5, they have learned about the properties metals and non-metals, and their uses. They have been introduced to the periodic table, a map of the elements in the previous lesson. Physical property, a characteristic one can observe or measure with sense organs without changing the substance into another substance. Example, shiny, hardness, etc. Also note, whether an element is a solid, liquid, or gas is also a physical property under certain conditions. For example, the temperature at which a solid melts is a physical property. Chemical property, a characteristic that may only be observed by chemical reaction. An element's chemical properties determine how the element combines with other elements. Example, during rusting, iron combines with air / oxygen and moisture / water to form rust. Remind the learners to identify where these two elements are found in the periodic table. Other examples include tarnishing, etc. Chemical reaction, a process by which one or more substances change to produce one or more different substances. Note to explain, chemical changes create new substances, example, rusting, while physical changes do not, example, boiling. Properties of metals: shiny, lustrous, malleable, ductile, hard, conducts electricity, conducts heat. Usually a solid, mostly solid at room temperature. Properties of nonmetals: dull appearance, brittle, poor conductors of electricity, poor conductors of heat. Can be solid / liquid / gas at room temperature. Usually less dense compared to metals. Not malleable or ductile. Properties of semi-metals: often malleable, often ductile. Make good semiconductors. Usually a solid at room temperature. Dull or shiny. Usually conduct heat and electricity, though not as well as metals. Hold up a metal object and a non-metal object. Ask the learners to list differences between the two objects based on their properties. Hold up two metal objects. Ask learners to list similarities between the two objects. Explain how to use physical properties to classify and compare a substance as a metal, nonmetal, and semi-metals. Practical task/investigation activity. Investigate the physical properties of metals, nonmetals, and semi-metals. Use the worksheet provided to investigate these properties, for example, conductivity of the materials by using electric tester and electric circuit, made by using cell, bulb and electric wire, etc. Extension activities. Identify everyday uses of metals, nonmetals and semi-metals, example, in TV sets, computers, mobile phones, household items, jewelry, food industry, agriculture, medicine, etc. Investigate if any of metals, nonmetals and semi-metals pose any dangers through their use and how such dangers can be prevented.